for 1 second.
Hey guys, welcome back to Clash with Barndo. For this video I've got Downfall of a Town Hall 10 number 2. So this is only the second time I've done this, Death of a TH10. Now what we're going to be looking at is a series of attacks on Jeremiah. Number 11, this was a tier 2, so they're bottom Town Hall 10, but the learnings from it are there. One of the reasons I say all the time I do these videos is to show our players, to help them to see where the thinking process is, and that includes all levels, people that are in our MLCW clans, any of our sister clans, any of that kind of stuff. Now what was interesting about this base was the Infernos were all offset away from the heroes, so that means you've got to be able to get some kind of access into those Inferno towers and not draw the clan castle from that that top cell. So that puts it at a bit of a problem. If you've seen the first episode I did of this, we used a Queen Golem sacrifice and she achieved an absolute bucket load. Now with this base, a lot of talk and discussion went into it with the Town Hall 9 open. Our Town Hall 9s did awesome this particular war, and they managed to get an open on this. So what I'll do is I'll go through in order and show the learnings and all of that along the way of what's actually occurred and how we've done it. Okay, so you can see here Logan, this is Town Hall 9 open, and Logan's gone in with effectively just a LavaLoon and some hogs for the end, just to double check what's in the clan castle, because nowadays you don't know whether it's a golem or whether it's a hound in the clan castle, because a lot of the lower tiers are trying to run golems to stop the minor spam, which is cool. So it's always good when you're doing these Town Hall 9 opens and strategies. It's always nice to be able to have a look and double check to grab that clan castle out. Now you can see level 5 wall breakers, they get in versus the level 2 Infernos. So you can see the Queenie, she's going to be walking in, and her goal is to get that Inferno tower. So absolutely awesome. Didn't know what was where. This is the first hit. Teslas pop up on the Town Hall, and you'll see another 2. So that's a Tesla farm right underneath that Town Hall. Not picking up many traps on this so far. You can see just the one heat seeker on the air defense. Of course, the heroes removed another air defense. So great use so far of the loons. Has the second rage and donated as well as a personal skeleton spell. That's to get rid of the enemy queen. Unfortunately, does the old hog lure first, and that activates a clan castle, which does slow them down. So it's going to stop that effect. But you can see out of that we've picked out a lot of traps absolutely immediately. You can see the pathing to get the queen and king into that Inferno worked. Jimmy Bob did get a bit stuck there on the side of the building before the wall breakers went through, and you can see just some percentage now. And it was a golem in the clan castle. As mentioned, we need to make sure that on these opens we're showing it, because there's still very real possibilities that the initial plan that you go with as an open for the 10v10 attempt may actually change depending on what happens, where the traps are, and what the Town Hall 10s are thinking once they've seen those opens. Okay, so you can see Sir David, he's come in with a LavaLoon, 28 personal loons, 4 wall breakers. I think that's another hound loon and in the CC, and you can see 2 rage, 1 heal, 5 haste. Now we know that I've got my little painting out. We know that there's 2 heat seekers down here. There's 1 heat seeker here, 1 heat seeker here. So you have to assume there's 1 heat seeker over there. Now we're aiming to use our heroes to remove all of those defences with a minimal backup troops. So the less you can use, the better. But you obviously want to achieve that goal, and that is the main priority of that sacrifice group. Now, from there, we've got 1 donated skeleton spell, rage to go with that. There are 2 rages, so you can see basically it's utilising that first attack of what's happened. Want to get that king and queen in there. Still, we have a bit of a map of how to do it. And we see now how Sir David has assessed it. There was a lot of talk after the hit The guys were talking in clan chat mainly. There wasn't, but you see now Jimmy Bob, he hits that cam. Very lucky that he turned in and didn't actually go down. Wall breaker down, and what happens there? They go in, but unfortunately Jimmy Bob, he runs in, kills the mortar, kills the archer tower, and where does Queenie go? Old Queenie runs south clockwise, so she is going to miss that Inferno, and that's the absolute major priority. Jimmy Bob gets the one Tesla before he dies, but the wizard picks up the second, so that's not bad value. We only used a couple of wizards and a baby dragon, so less than 20 units base to get that sacrifice. That's quite a bit. Now you can see here haste comes down. This is definitely worth mentioning because a lot of people get this wrong. That haste should be up here, because what will happen is those loons will get that speed and they'll speed into there. So you can pre-haste before that, because if you wait till here, we'll take away that, you can see the radius. That's actually picking up those loons before they get into the haste, which can cause some major problems to your loons. So you definitely want to be putting that haste a little bit further up top. So that's definitely something we did see. And you can see now that Inferno's picking them up. But those 4 loons do get it. So that's unfortunately a haste and 4 loons that wasn't expected. But he's rolled it pretty well. You can see a good heavy chunk of loons at the start. And again, realistically, if you have a look at these hastes, it's a phrase I've started talking about, is piggybacking. You want to make sure that your hastes can piggyback. So what that means is you want your loons to get fast into there first, and then you want them to go secondary off that haste. But if you're using them, oh, where are we? Put that pen back. So if you are using them like that, that means it takes all these loons so long to get in there, and either that Inferno or your Hound takes an absolute beating and dies before you get out of that first Inferno. So where you drop these spells is a very, very imperative part of these successful raids. You can see there's a red bomb that comes up. That gives those loons a fair bit of grief. Now they're taking a whole lot of damage early on. Gets the secondary Inferno down. It's a good drop for that heal spell there. You can see those loons were very damaged, so they didn't really manage to get through. 1 Hound left. And that Queen, she doesn't die. That Rage Skeleton spell wasn't enough to get the Queen down. There is still a Hound left, so you can see there's loons that are catching in. There's no wizard towers, there's no splash. Unfortunately, that Hound does drop, and that's going to start putting pressure on these loons. He is going to get that air defense down, though, I'm pretty sure, yes. But of course, Queen, she's at half health. So you can see the big problem with that attack was getting the King and the Queen to follow suit. Very hard sometimes when a Town Hall 9 doesn't open and something works, and then sometimes trying to reciprocate that working can be very hard. And if it doesn't work, you then need to go back to the drawing board and go, okay, how do we make this work? Now let's go into the next one. Okay, so this is Vice and Dog hitting the base. You can see 6 wall breakers. Now, the theory behind taking the 6 wall breakers was just in case the Queen walked the wrong way, you had somewhere to be able to throw out the extra wall breakers. A couple of Wizzies. It's a very much similar army. Vice and Dog still doesn't have Skeleton Spell upgraded, so has taken a poison instead. And we can see here, where are we? So let's have a look at how Vice and Dog has assessed it. You can see, fairly certain there comes a wizard first, yes, then the Queen. That gets a couple of buildings down. The object is to push Jimmy Bob counterclockwise, so getting rid of that first elixir collector and camp means that he's definitely going to turn in. Now this is where there was probably a bit of a flaw. Hindsight was popping out those wall breakers. Now what happens now is Jimmy's going to go in there and he's going to cut the Queen's grass. He's going to kill that cannon mortar, I should say, kill the archer tower, and then that mine is still there. You can see that second wizard comes out, but unfortunately the Queen's already walked, so she's moved on. So again, this Inferno's been left, and this is where you've then got to go, okay, how do I save this raid? Jimmy and the Queen. Queen's still got ability, so you're going to get the entire Tesla cell. You're going to get the Archer Tower most likely. Drops out the wall breakers just to see if they might make some kind of a difference. But because the Queen had taken so much damage, she wasn't actually able to get in there and get that Inferno down. And of course, aggroing that clan castle, because it's a golem, doesn't really matter. Now you can see 2 heat seekers on that bottom. That bottom hand is just dead already. So now we're going into the loon phase. The looning was very, very rough. Looning into 2 air defences, into 2 blowers, it's just not going to work. Even with all the extra haste spells and all of that kind of stuff, the rage goes out. Skeleton spell was held onto it at a good spot, and you can see that gets dropped down now. And the Queen under rage, skeleton spell. There's no bomb tower down there, so there's only the occasional bit of damage going into it. And you can see the Queen, she drops down quite easily, but that Inferno didn't die. There's still plenty of defences left. In the end, it was a poor re-hit, for the simple fact that we didn't manage to get that King and the Queen in there again, and you can just see so many defences left in the midfield. So easily much worse than the previous attack. So we had a bit of a think, and we had a pause, and then we've reassessed how that Queen goes into the base. Okay, so Bando 81B was next to hit it, and you can see I'm trying to sneak in a clone spell. And this, I knew after a night shift, if I fucked it up, that it would likely be the death of the raid. Unfortunately, I thought, no, I really want to get a clone spell in. I've been trying like desperate to get clones into. Generally speaking, my theory behind it was, if you get the King and the Queen doing their job, old Jimmy Bob and Queen, they go and eliminate all of this stuff here. They also eliminate those. You know that's massive value. And then you can loon into the bottom section first, then loon into the top section. And what's going to happen is your loons are going to path in and hopefully spread out to those 3 defences. Drop out a clone spell, and then you're going to have 7 more loons in midfield. You put a rage down, you put the skeleton spells for the enemy Queen. She's gone, she's dead, knocked in the head, and that means you're then going to get the blower out and those center expos. But as you'll see, I noobed it up. Now, the good part of this raid was the fact that we've managed to save the hero open. This was important. 1 wizard down to start off with, a queen down, queen down, then a secondary wizard. Jimmy Bob gets to the table. The idea is now that those wizards are going to help kill that gold storage, so Jimmy doesn't go right, but he didn't anyway. And also held the wall breakers back just long enough so Jimmy walked down to the left before the wall breakers hit the floor, and then that way he wasn't going to go and cut the Queen's grass. Now, what's good about that is you've got to be careful if you do delay things, because if that Queen had have killed that mortar, the wall breakers will then track differently, causing everything to be a whole big shit fight. Now, old Jimmy's run well. He's at full health as he's approaching that Tesla farm. The Queen, she turns around, says, "How you going to the Inferno?" Gives that a bit of a slap and tickle. You see that cannon though, that geared up cannon is absolutely chomping away at her. Pops the ability before the geared up cannon fires. Now this is where I've definitely done too much. This Archer Tower is tanking, being tanked by Jimmy. So that's awesome. So really what should have happened right here is 2 hastes. There's 3 hounds in the army. You could have gone 2 hounds and then just loon behind it. That was all that had to happen. But unfortunately I've gone haste, hound, loons, and this is where I have one of these problems every now and again as I overcomplicate raids. And the hound goes past, picks up all the red traps, but at the same time, that hound running past gets the aggro of all of these defences somewhat unnecessarily. Realistic, you can see now the Inferno's picking up those loons. That's causing quite a bit of damage to those loons. There's no heal spell up for afterwards. You've got to be careful of that. Being a level 2, I risked that. And this is where I've stuffed up. The loons are starting to run away. I've gone, okay, let's get that clone spell. And unfortunately, the loon was too close to dead. The clone was stuffed. And it was no good. Now you can see a bit of a retaliation, trying desperately to get loons to trigger through into that clone, and they did, but because the other hound tank was down at that air defense getting pounded, that was it. There's still plenty of loons on the table. The queen's dead with the rage and the skeleton spells. There's still skeletons everywhere and getting summoned and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, the wizard tower and the mortar, they're going to say how you going, and that's it for those. Baby dragon wasn't enough to get in there. You can see one air defense still remaining. Archer tower, wizard tower. So in the end, if the clone had have worked, if I had have actually got that clone on, I think that would have been pretty bloody close to a 3-star and I would have looked like a champ. But instead I've gone from hero to 0 and failed it poorly, copped a lot of flack. Why the hell are you taking a clone spell in Bando? I'm just trying to get them in there. I think there are somewhat uses for them. I use them in farm wars for donut bases for exactly that purpose. Every now and again you get one loon on the outside, and of course the loons out of the clone, they can trigger in different spots, and you can actually push them into spots that your loons wouldn't usually go. Okay, so this is the last hit. Oh, it's just the last hit versus the base. Doth comes in and absolutely smashed the base. Now, keeping in mind this is tier 2, so level 2 infernos, low point defences, low wizard towers, low cannons, not absolutely baseline, but tier 2, so 140 points or less. But the theory of it is the same. We're using the wall breakers will get in there. They only get tagged long enough. I think if that was a level 3 Inferno, they would have got through still. The point defences probably wouldn't have made as much difference anyway. It just might have meant that you might not have got as far with the Royals. But we'll watch the raid, we'll see here. Doth comes down with the 2 wizards. Unfortunately, a wizard starts tanking from that mortar, out of the range of course. Jimmy Bob doesn't take it, but it doesn't play a major force or a major problem. And you can see the wall breakers run the same, so that's good. That means Jimmy's run off. Baby Dragon will hit the dance floor as well, so he follows that part as well. Where are we? Queenie, she's doing her work. He'll go and pop his Jimmy. Baby Dragon probably could have been put down a little bit earlier just to get some damage in there, but maybe held onto it so it didn't take damage off those Teslas. Old Queenie, she cops a fair bit of grief off that cannon. Jimmy Bob's ability has been popped, and this is what I like about this, is you can see now with the raid, he just uses the king that's tanking the arch tower. The king's tanking the Inferno. It was tanking that for a second, but not now. Doesn't draw the clan castle. That's an awesome result. Gets straight into his loons. Goes 3, 3, 4s from the top, 3s from the sides. Queenie's still going. And you can see now those loons, heavy on those loons, and that is absolutely rips through. Hasting into the air defences so your hounds aren't under the pump too much. Heals the loons up. Drops the rage and the double skeleton spell on the enemy queen. She's got absolutely no chance. And then she gets a raged loon dropping a payload right over her head on the blower. And you can see now there's about 15, 20 loons left there. Everything dies. Jimmy Bob's still running around. There's plenty of cleanup. Didn't even need the minions in the end. Absolutely smashed that base. I think if this had been a tier 3, 4 or a 5, it would have been a good chance at getting the same result. You can see there was a lot of loons left. Where the traps were positioned, that Tesla farm going down to the to the 2 Royals is huge value. Managing to get something like 10 defences from just the Royals, 2 Wizards and 1 Baby Dragon is absolutely huge value. Okay, so we'll watch that one more time in normal, sorry, in 2 times speed. So look, I hope I've helped. I hope I've shown how we've sort of come across this raid and how we've done it. And you can see definitely the work getting in that hero suicide into the LavaLoon. Absolutely brilliant loon pathing from Doth. You can see there with Queen getting that bomb tower. That means the wizard tower is definitely going to be targeted. You can see also this shield here with the wizard with the break in the defences. That means that midfield's going to get a whole heap of loons, and he just pushes through from the left through to the right. But yeah, that's how we do it. We're still learning. We don't profess to be gods or anything like that. We are definitely a clan that is in learning and enjoying it, and we had 8 10 versus 10 attempts this war. It's just awesome. So hopefully next time I don't take the clone and stuff it up. Hopefully next time I take the clone and succeed. But I hope you guys had a bit of a laugh, and as always, clash on.
I'm gonna fight 'em all. A 7-nation army couldn't hold me